Welcome back to the preview show. I'm Casey Campbell. That's Nathan Solomon of the Podium Finish. How's it going, bud?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing
Thanks for
well.
having me.
Yeah, no problem. Pretty interesting week right now. Of course, big weekend in all of motorsports. Of course, F1, Monaco, Indy 500, and of course NASCAR with the Coke 600. Obviously, we'll do an IndyCar. The IndyCar preview show will be tomorrow with the channel's IndyCar expert Colin Kolpa. So this mainly is talking about NASCAR. But overall, well, before we get into Charlotte, let's talk about North Wilkesboro. How do you think it went?
Well, I don't know. I think for the most part it went well. Obviously, just in terms of like the revival and getting people back there and getting people excited about it. And I don't think the racetrack's the problem. I mean, I think each series has its own issues, is why that race or why the races there may or may not have been successful. I think Truck Series is just your typical. Well, really, for both series, it's the typical stuff, right? It's the Truck Series is a bunch of over aggressive drivers that wreck each other and don't really know how to lay back. And then in the Cup Series, it's a short track package. I mean, the tires too wide. The diffuser, I think, certainly makes an impact. The shifting, the gear differentials are just not what they need to be. So, yeah, I think those are the reasons why maybe the on track product isn't what everybody had hoped. But I think that if they address some of those changes, at least on the Cup side, then if the Cup Series were to come back there, I think we could see a much better package. But then for the truck side, I don't know how you fix. I don't know how you fix that.
Yeah, that's a project within itself. Um, yeah, it's all three. By the way, all three series are going to be at Charlotte this weekend. It is Coke 600. It is Coke 600 week. So, let's talk about. Well, we'll get into all three series, of course. The Coke 600. We'll start with Cup. Some of the guys that we're watching out for. I mean, it's been obviously the Cup guys ran last week, but obviously that was the All Star race. But who are some of the people that you're really kind of looking into as some of the contenders? Because you got Kyle Larson for sure, who's on probably a bit of a hot streak right now. But who are some of the others that you think you're thinking about?
Yeah, I mean, you definitely have to look at all the 100 cars. I mean, in particular, Kyle Larson and William Byron, who have been probably, in my opinion, unarguably the two fastest cars this season. I mean, combined they have 5 wins. William Byron has 3. Kyle Larson has 2. That number for Larson could be much higher, and well, 3 including the All Star race. But I think at this point of the year, Larson could easily have 4 or 5 points paying victories. I mean, he's just been that good. It's just been late race cautions or wrecks not of his doing that have taken him out of victories. Like you look at the Kansas race, right? Just him and Denny racing hard for the win. He ended up turned into the wall. He loses. 2 late leads on the West Coast swing, late cautions, ends up losing. Like just things like that. I think he would have been pretty good at Dover, but obviously got wrecked early. So yeah, he could easily have a bunch of wins now. So definitely the 100 cars. You definitely have to look out for Denny Hamlin as well. Won the last intermediate race at Kansas Speedway. Won the Coke 600 last year. He's a guy that certainly sticks out. 2311's been trending upward lately, and Bubba and Tyler Reddick have been pretty good at the intermediates too. So those are definitely some of the names that come to mind. But I think you really have to consider everybody, at least in, I'd say, the top 3 Chevrolet teams and your 2 Toyota teams, right? So your top 3 Chevrolet teams are in order: Hendrick, um, Trackhouse, and RCR, and then your 6 Toyota cars between JGR and 2311. I mean, those are going to be the cars that, in my opinion, so probably 4, 8. Those one of those 14 cars will win the race most likely. Those are the cars with the race winning speed right now.
Yeah, that's uh that's probably a pretty fair statement on there. And notice that you didn't mention any of the Fords, but do you see any of them contending?
I don't know. I mean, the Fords have been pretty far off everywhere. I mean, there's really not been a place that they've been to that's been like, whoa, these guys have a lot of speed. I mean, Joey Logano has a win, but Fords have still not been there. Like they've not been fast enough. I mean, these last 2 weeks in particular. I mean, they've been way off. I mean, they've been kind of lucky just to have one or two cars in the top 10. I mean, Team Penske's having a down. I mean, Joey Logano's doing well
Yeah.
for the most part. But and same as Blaney, but I mean those guys aren't really contending for wins. Um, Austin Cindric's been way off. Um, Kevin Harvick's been having a good year. He's been consistent, but he's not really contending for wins. And then the other three SHR cars are way off. Like I mean, I don't know exactly what it is. I think that the new nose has something to do with it for Ford, but I mean they're not fast enough right now to contend for wins. So in a long race like that, where it takes a good car plus a lot of driver skill to win that race, I really can't see Ford having a chance unless we see a similar ending to last year where it's just like caution after caution after caution. A lot of your top guys wreck, and then through attrition, maybe some guys get to the front, or maybe some sort of pit strategy. So in terms of pure speed, no. If a Ford were to win that race, it would have to be off of attrition or strategy.
Yeah. Let's go to Xfinity. Of course, they're back for after another week off, but they'll be racing at Charlotte. So who do we think is going to be? There's going to be a lot of Cup guys that are going to be in there. Of course, Kyle Busch is in there, Ty Gibbs is in there, and of course, then you have all the other Xfinity guys that are going to be in there. Who are some of the teams? Obviously we kind of know that John Hunter has kind of been the favorite, the two Gibbs cars, and then we've seen a lot of speed out of the we've seen a lot of speed out of Colleague, the two RCR cars, and then of course I know it's not been, and then we've seen Junior Motorsports pick up results. They had a pretty good week at Darlington. They had a pretty good week at Dover. Do you see them who do you see going to victory lane, and could a Junior Motorsports car is this the week that they break through and get a win?
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say that they're in desperation mode right now because it's May 24th as we speak,
Yep.
and they're only 11 races in. So no, you don't want to hit the panic button, that's for sure. If you're JRM, they've been fast. I mean, Allgaier's been there week in, week out. Josh Berry's been there week in, week out. Um, I mean, certainly no doubt about it. Sam Mayer and Brandon Jones have really struggled with consistency this season. Something that, at least for Sam Mayer, I mean, dude was wicked consistent last year. Those consistent results just haven't been there. So if you're JRM, you're definitely thinking like, ooh, I mean, like we're getting into the, even though they won't be halfway, but I mean, we're getting to the halfway marker here pretty soon. Again, they're a little bit more backloaded. Like I think they only have 1 week off in the final 20 races. So we
Right.
have essentially three more races until the halfway break, if I'm not mistaken, right? Like we have,
Yeah.
right? Yeah, three more races until the halfway break. Two of them are on road
Portland,
courses.
Sonoma.
Um, so if you're JRM, I think you got to say, all right, we got to find a way to get into this halfway break with something. We got to find a way to get a win. I mean, no better time than the Coke 600 for sure. So they'll definitely be in the mix. And you said it, of course. I mean, Kyle Busch is in the race. Anytime he's in a race, he's got a pretty good chance to win it. Ty Gibbs certainly knows a thing or two about these Xfinity cars. He'll be up there and have a chance to win it. John Hunter Nemechek's probably been the fastest car all season.
Yeah.
He'll be right there as well. And you kind of can't forget about Austin Hill either. I mean, he won 3 out of the first 5 races and has been flying a little bit under the radar lately, but he's been there. Like I mean, he's still been pretty consistent, right? He won at Las Vegas earlier this season, and I think if there's an intermediate that's going to compare to Charlotte, it's probably Las Vegas. Those two are probably the most similar, and I mean they're really not that similar, but in terms of speed and handling and everything, I think those two would probably be the closest. So those are definitely a handful of guys that you got to look out for. And another name I'll throw at you is his teammate Sheldon Creed. I know we've talked about at length about Sam Mayer, needing to go out there and get his first career victory, but Sheldon Creed's kind of in that same boat. I mean, he's been in the series for almost as long as Sam has, minus that half year in 2021. He's had some opportunities like Sam, has just not executed them. So he's another guy that you got to start thinking about. It's like, ooh, when's he going to go out there and get that first win? Because I think both of them certainly have a lot of potential to rattle off quite a few wins, not just one.
Yeah, I think another one that everyone thought that was going to have a lot of wins by now was Cole Custer. So them, and then the nine,
Sure.
and then of course Riley's been up there at times, and he hasn't gotten a win. So lots of interesting things. And now with there's another chance you could have another surprise winner like we had it with Jeb Burton at Talladega. So if you want to get in the playoffs, I think you gotta get a win. So we'll just have to see on that. There's definitely a lot of big opportunities to do that. Of course, none of the Cup guys will be at Portland, so that's obviously a big opportunity for everybody to do it. And of course, we got Sonoma, and then of course a lot of big tracks coming up. So yeah, all right, let's go to trucks. Lots of interesting stuff happening there. Of course, Larson won at North Wilkesboro, but who is it seems like Tricon Garage is really kind of starting to pick it up, especially the 11 truck with Corey Heim. And then of course you got a lot of other guys like, yes, I know Zane Smith has a couple races. I think to some reason the Ford camp has not been doing particularly well, and obviously North Wilkesboro, they had some solid results as well. But who do you think are some of the favorites to take that race? And by the way, this is the first race of the Triple Truck Challenge.
Yeah, I mean, I think the 38 truck has had a little less pace than last year, but I think overall, week in, week out, he's still probably been the best truck. Just hasn't always executed. I mean, only five top tens so far, but Corey Heim's been really good as well. I mean, he has 8 top 10s, but in terms of, in terms of speed, right? Like Zane Smith's the fastest truck out there. But yeah, Corey Heim's not far behind. But I think the name that I'm really looking at right now is Ty Majeski. He's only 7 points back of Corey Heim right now in points. Has been really consistent this year, leads the series in top fives with 6. So I think Ty is definitely a guy that comes to mind. Like he's due to get a win. I think it sooner rather than later. Obviously, you have to look at it at guys like Grant Enfinger, Christian Eckes having, I guess even though both of them have wins, have quietly just had really good years. I mean, top fives right now for sure. But then kind of going on the other side of it, I mean, Carson Hocevar, he's outside of the top 10 in points. He has a win, so he's locked in. But right now in 12th, Nick Sanchez, I mean, he's had a couple opportunities to go out and win races and essentially got wrecked, like especially at Texas, and that instead Hocevar wins. So it seemed like the mile-and-a-half program has been really good for Nick Sanchez. He had a lot of speed at Kansas as well. Just got damage, I believe, if I remember correctly, and did not have a good finish. But the two teams really been on it with intermediates, so I'd expect a guy like Nick Sanchez to have a lot of speed and a good opportunity to win. I mean, of your points-earning drivers, he's second in laps led, so definitely have to watch out for him.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm looking at the standings right now. I mean, you think that 5 drivers have wins. Of course, you got Heim, Smith, Zane, Grant, and Eckes and Hocevar. Majeski's, unless something catastrophic happened to him, if we just get a bunch of random winners, I think he's in. He's plus 112. And you look at Ben Rhodes and Crafton and Tanner Gray and Friesen would be the last one in. DiBenedetto would be the first one out. So, and there's not a lot of races left. I think there's only 6 races left until the regular season finish, because of course you got Charlotte this week, and then you got Gateway, Nashville, correct me, Mid Ohio, Pocono, and Richmond. That's it, and then we're in the playoffs. So lots of things to happen, and there's only 6 more races left in the regular season. So it's getting to be crunch time, and by the time before you know it, we're going to be in the truck playoffs. So it's lots of it seems like the season just started but it's the playoffs are literally right around the corner, and they're gonna be here before you know it. So lots of interesting stuff there. All right. Well, that's it's time for picks. Of course, let's start with trucks. So who you got, bud?
Yeah, so I actually I'm gonna go with Carson Hocevar to win the truck race.
Interesting.
Um, he's one of the faster trucks every week. It's just a matter of him going out and executing races and staying out of trouble, similar to his buddy Ross Chastain. So, he was really good at Charlotte last year. Probably should have won that race. So we'll go with Hocevar to win the truck race.
Yeah. I'll tell you know, I'll go with GMS. I'll take Grant Enfinger. I think that team is obviously, there's a lot of things surrounding that team right now, especially with Legacy Motor Club going to Toyota next year. But Grant Enfinger, is he's a capable winner. Of course, he went out and won Kansas, and I think he's gonna do it again at Charlotte. So it'll be good stuff there. All right, let's go to Xfinity. Who you got?
I will spoil my Xfinity and Cup picks together
Okay.
because they're the same, and it's going to be Kyle Busch. Kyle Busch is back in Xfinity with Colleague this weekend. He's in the 10 car. Car's riding some momentum coming off a win at Darlington with Kyle Larson. And Busch, well, he's good just about everywhere he goes and anything he drives. So I'll go with him to go with a little sweep, I guess. I mean, he's only doing two of the races, so with a little Kyle Busch Xfinity Cup sweep and get him a Coke 600.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Since you made okay, so for Xfinity, I will go with let's go with Sam Mayer. Of course he won the pole here last year at Charlotte. So if this is the weekend that Junior Motorsports really has to pick things up. And they've been consistently finishing the top 10 in those last few races. They just haven't seemed to put it together. But we'll just have to see how this works out. Obviously, Kyle Busch and Ty Gibbs are both in the field. No, also, here's another note. Ty Gibbs has not won an Xfinity race when Kyle Busch is in the race. So that will be interesting to see how that plays out. Um, so, and then for Cup, I will go with Ross Chastain. Yes, I will take the one. I will take the one car because why not? All right. Well, that's going to do it. Don't forget, it's a major big weekend for motorsports. So, of course, you got, for on the NASCAR side, of course, you got ARCA, which I think is at 6 p.m. right before the truck race. And then, of course, you got the Xfinity race on Saturday, and then a big deal on Sunday, of course, starting with the Monaco Grand Prix. Then you got the Indy 500 coming up and then around noon. And then you got the Cup race. You got the Coca-Cola 600 coming up later on Sunday night. So yeah, it'll be fun. All right, for Nathan, I'm Casey. So long and enjoy the weekend.